Village of Armada regular council meeting will now come to order. We're going to rise for the pledge of allegiance to the flag, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk will call the roll, please.
Shaw.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Conan.
Here.
Wolock.
Here.
Baylor.
Here.
Slutz.
Here.
Belkey.
Here.
What is the council's wishes to the approval of the agenda, please?
Mr. President, I'll move the agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Ballard and Clark?
Yep.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, I see no citizens in the audience. It is time for citizens' comment if there was. So we will move on. Tonight also, there is no presentations. Next, we will go to the administrative reports. Liaison reports. Does any council person want to, or liaison person?
Yes, Mr. President. I've got a laundry list of things that I'm working on. You guys can take a look at it. Just and I missed a couple items. Go figure. But I want to comment on a couple things. Last meeting, Dave, you brought up some concerns about all of the different water works, projects and so on we got, and funding issues and so on. And I completely understand where you're coming from. We don't want to raise rates, and there's only so much you can go up before you start really hurting people on some of these projects. Nevertheless, there's a lot of projects out there, and what we don't want to do is we don't want to keep deferring because stuff's going to break, and then we're not going to be in a position to intelligently fix it. One of the things that I've mentioned in the past, and Steve's been involved in this, and I think Lyle's going to participate at the next meeting, is we've had F&B in to discuss the current environment, financial environment, the different types of projects that small municipalities have to engage in, and funding options and prioritization options for those type of projects. We've asked them for a proposal to do a small study on what are the best financial options, grants, revolving funds. There's other things out there. Some we qualify for, some we don't qualify for. But for a municipality of our size, our population, the amount of money we bring in, the types of projects we have, what are the best options for us from a midterm, long-term standpoint to finance some of these and bundle some of these projects together so that we lock rates in for a long period of time, we don't have to keep raising, and we get some of the work done. I fear there's not the money to do a lot of these things, and at any time we do one project and spend a significant amount of our budget on it and something else breaks, I have no way to go fix it, right? So we're looking at that. We've got another meeting coming up. I'll leave it at that, but we are looking at those types of options and trying to get some recommendations, in this case from F&V. They work with a lot of small municipalities, and they've got some good ideas that I think it might be worth hearing. In any case, we'll get a proposal from them, probably in the $5,000 to $6,000 range, to do a study, and the study would encompass not only waterworks, but sewer treatment and streets. Ways to logically work these projects into the future and not break the backs of the residents. So that's in there, Dave. You can take a look at those items. There's a lot of stuff, and it's not chump change. It's a lot of money, as you know. And
also they're going to be at our next meeting. Correct.
We would have them at our next meeting to answer.
For you guys to listen to and don't want to do it, then we don't have to do it. But at least hear them out and see what they're talking about.
Are you cemented at the next meeting? Next meeting is auditors, the audit review is
Yeah,
that night? It's gonna be a lengthy meeting.
Understand, I would hate to punt it. We've discussed, technically, if they do this, if we get an approval to do it, that they would have the report done by early December so that it figures into our budget discussions for the next fiscal year. We could probably move it back, but I think it'll be
The
pretty.
first October meeting, let's see.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. It's a study that they would do for us, and I would specifically tell you what the scope of work is, right? I'm talking to them now, and again, Steve was at the last meeting, we're gonna get Lyle into the next meeting. Let me take a look at what they come back with. If it seems overly complicated, we will move it, but I would like to get them started if we can. And so it may be a simple, easy discussion at the meeting, but if I see it looking like it's gonna be difficult, then we will move it.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I'll talk about, other than water tower paintings coming up. That'll start that has started this week, today. Gonna try not to paint the cars at the fire department. I'm kidding, you know, they are taking precautions for that. It does take the water tower out of service. Water tower gets drained as part of the process. It's part of our annual regular maintenance process that we do, and this year water tower painting has come up. So DPW Supervisor Ed Saratowski assures me that the 3 wells we have will be able to more than compensate for water needs with the water tower out of service. Okay, enough.
Ross, I have a couple quick questions on some of the things that you listed here.
Please.
One was the replaced media and the 2 vessels. Now that you've already got the money for that, I believe, right?
We've got a resolution that the council has made, and I apologize, I'm stepping on your question, but we do have a resolution to, I think it was 400 cubic feet of media, if I remember correctly. And McIntyre has asked for a letter just to state that. I guess they're getting these letters together. They're going to give to the, I think it's ACI, the company that manufactures the media, to show sincerity that we're sincere about buying it if they make it.
And so K-PAC and others are joining in on this too?
K-PAC is in, and I'm not sure who else they've asked, but I can ask them for a list. And so that's the latest thing, and Michelle, I sent you a draft.
It's here.
Okay, perfect.
The other thing is on the 43 lead service lines, that's mandated by Eagle. So we have to do that, it's mandated, right?
Well, that's part of the discussion that the president is going to bring up in new business. Very interesting read if you read all of that stuff, and about why it should be done, shouldn't be done, and the argument, the legal argument over what law or what statute supersedes another one, and I don't want to steal the thunder of the president, so I'll let him talk that when he comes up to new business. But yeah, we have approximately 42 lead service lines that we would replace at about, it was interesting, they said $5,000 per line, and that's about what I had, $5,000 per line. It makes it about $250,000.
Right.
Right, and now the thing I got to go back in and check, Mike, is that they said you've got 20 years to do it. My understanding is no, by 2025 it has to be done. So I don't know where they're getting their dates versus our dates. It might be based upon the size of the municipality or the number of customers, or I don't know why. So I got to go back and research that. But our plan has been to do it by 2025. Which doesn't give us a whole lot of time. It gives us about 4 years to knock it out.
Right.
Clinton has about 2,200, 2,300 residents. I talked to their,
Clerk?
yeah, the clerk, the manager,
The village
manager, and, yeah, I mean, it was a good conversation, so.
I really appreciate the stuff in the packet. I thought it was great. It really helped to crystallize what the issues were for me.
Well,
Yep,
Michelle
but they're-
also talked to Mr.
John.
Bahorsky too also.
Yeah,
So we have a good outline on it.
yeah, we do.
Okay,
Yeah.
I look forward to
We want to be on top of it and,
hearing Jeff's assessment of whether or not that's a court case that could be won or not. That would be-
well, we always want to win that.
Yeah,
Well,
great.
it would save us $250,000.
Yeah.
Right, we don't want to guess, because that's too much money. And if it does involve us with the current residents, that's probably entailed, would probably run us close to 80-some thousand, maybe 90-some $1,000. You know, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, the real concern is you pay the money to change the piping out, but then you get hit by a resident because you've destroyed their flower bed, or you cracked their driveway, or you
Right.
messed up their sidewalk, or
Private
who
property.
knows, you've damaged the foundation of their house.
Well,
Now it's the
if we can-
liabilities.
If
Yeah.
we can win this, the liabilities are
Yeah,
safer.
it's outweighs it.
Yeah, that's the part that you can't really
All right, thank you.
guess the cost.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, you had another question.
That's it, okay,
Okay,
good to go,
okay,
thank you.
Anyone else? No. Next is the treasurer's report. You have that in your packet. If you have any questions, treasurer's here. Next would be the planning commission meeting minutes of July 6th of 20, and that's also in your packet. So you most likely have read that. We're going to move on to general business. Next is the consent agenda, which will be the approval of the regular council meeting minutes of August 24th of 20. Payment of bills. Resolution adopting sewer service fees and charges amendment. Resolution adopting water service fees, charges amendment. Any, one's water and one's sewer, okay? So what is the council wishes as to agenda?
Mr. President, I'll move the consent agenda be accepted as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported by Ballard and Shaw. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, please.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. We're gonna go to new business. Next is to consider a request by the Village of Clinton to participate in a joint legal challenge to State of Michigan newly implemented lead and copper rules for public water supply system. Mr. Bahorsky's been involved with this with our clerk, and Michelle has brought me up to date on this, and you have quite a packet in here also, and I hope you've all read it, please. So what is the council wishes? Where do we want to start?
You want Jeff to give a brief overview?
Maybe that would be the
Okay.
best.
Yeah.
Mr.
So-
Bahorsky, please.
So, we all know what happened in Flint. You know, a decision was made under an emergency financial manager in Flint to try to find a cheaper alternative to water supply up there. In the course of doing that, we all know what the fallout of that was. They switched from, I believe it was the Detroit water supply system to the Flint River that caused you know all the details. Obviously, as an outgrowth of that, there was I'll describe as a focus on lead in drinking water. And as a result of that, through the administrative rule process, then the DEQ, now known as EGLE, but back then it was the DEQ in 2018, promulgated lead and copper rules. And those are what's referred to as LCR, lead and copper rules. They issued these rules, which essentially said it will be incumbent upon a municipality that has a water supply system to replace water service lines that utilize a lead-based pipe. That can take a variety of forms, but basically anything that could leach into the water from a lead-based pipe, those have to be replaced. And if you have a water supply system, it will become a system cost. As you guys know, and you're going to hear it in 2 weeks when the auditor comes, he always tells you how the water and sewer fund's doing. And as many of you know, we budget separately for that fund. We we manage, I think he calls it an enterprise fund. It's run more like a business, you know, you got revenue coming in, and you have your
Proprietary.
expenses, it's proprietary fund. Thank you. And so what the state basically has said, you're gonna absorb that cost as part of your fund operations, which means they're gonna spread the cost for that over the system. So, I don't mean to pick on Lyle, let's say Lyle has a lead service lead, I live next door to him, I have an updated copper one or whatever that's safe. He's not gonna pay for it, the system's gonna pay for it. So me living next to him, I'm gonna pick up a share of getting rid of Lyle's lead service lead.
Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some inequity issues there, but that's a way to try to spread the cost over. And as Rashu said, you know, as a little bit of debate, Village of Clinton clearly says it's over 20 years because you can see it in their correspondence. I haven't really read anything. Maybe it is as quickly, but regardless, you know, you got to. Right now, the administrative rule that's passed says you got to do it. Clinton came out of the box as early as late 2018. They came out of the box opposing this. You can see there was an initial, as the public comment period was going on, Clinton jumped up and said, we don't like this. This is not fair. They argued a number of different theories.
That was general law.
Yeah, and they didn't get any traction. And then when the the rule-making body, and like I said, DEQ, then they asked for a declaratory ruling. They lost that too. So these were all steps that they tried to fight this becoming and taking effect. So fast forward, you know, knowing that they had not succeeded to date in the process for establishing these rules, they started a campaign in January of this year to all approximately 200 general law villages, and I'll get to why general law villages are important. But they sent out a letter. Obviously, you know, probably 6 weeks, 7 weeks later, COVID hit, and unfortunately they didn't get the traction amongst the general law villages. And then more recently, fast forward to August, they sent our president another letter saying, hey, we didn't follow up on this, but we'd like to, you know, re-engage with all the general law villages and see if there's interest in establishing kind of a joint, well, it's not a defense fund, it's a joint litigation to challenge these rules in court. We lost administratively. We couldn't defeat the rules administratively. We exhausted all our remedies on that front. Now the only thing left is to challenge it legally. So that's what's presented for you today. They asked for up to $2,000. And Marv, President Bullock, sent a letter back saying, okay, we're going to take this up in September. So here we are. So why is general law villages important? So as you know, we're a general law village. We don't have a voter-approved charter. We are guided by a state law from 1893. So it's been around a while. It's been amended, but it literally dates back. The original General Law Village Act was from 1893. And that's our charter. I mean, that's effectively tells us how we operate, how you are elected, you know, who does what our duties are, and it provides our government framework. And in that statute, it specifically says that, as you guys all know, I call it the main, but the village water supply system has a water main. Okay, clearly that's a system cost, right? We all would agree. We have to run a water main down Main Street. That's a system cost. We'd argue with that. No, you got to get the water so that someone can tap in. What that section of the General Law Act says is that once you tap into that main, that's no longer a system cost, right? That's who pays that? We all know that once you tap in, that's called a water service line, be it lead or copper or whatever it is, it's on the owner. It's private property. It's the owner's responsibility to maintain it and replace it. And you know, as many of you know, when Ed and the guys go out, the first thing they try to figure out is where's the problem? And why do they do that? Because if it's problems in the main, it's a system cost. If it's on the service line, the homeowner is told, call somebody to take care of it, and you've got to pay for it.
Right.
And that's not a mistake or something. That's not custom. That's following what the General Law Village Act says.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, the first argument that the Village of Clinton brought forth was, that's state law, okay? We always know there's a hierarchy, you know, so administrative rules are here, state law is here, and then state constitutions above that, right? So right now, Clinton's basically arguing is, okay, great, you passed this rule, we don't agree with it, but that's a rule. That doesn't trump a state law. You can't enforce that because there's a conflict. And in conflicts between law and rules, the laws prevail, right? So they want to probably go into court and challenge it and saying, you know, it's great that DEQ, now Eagle, thinks that their rules are valid, but that doesn't, you know, that doesn't supersede state
They
law.
always do.
Right. So that's you know, kind of their principal argument. You know, we can't, you know, not only do they disagree with it, but they're saying legally you can't enforce that. Kind of their fallback argument, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this one because it's fairly complicated, but there's a decision that came out in the Michigan Supreme Court, Bolt versus City of Lansing, and that basically was a legal challenge that it was a fee, you know, it was a city fee that was imposed that was masquerading as a tax. And the significance of that is you can't have a fee become a tax without meeting, you know, voter approval or things like that. So there's been a rash of litigation since that Supreme Court case where municipalities, especially in water supply, have been sued saying you should not have charged me for that fee, you know, because that is a tax. It's a fee masquerading as a tax. And there's been just a rash of those. The bad thing about that is you guess who ends up paying. You know, you get it wrong. Let's say you inappropriately charge the fee. It still comes back to the city. So it's a circular argument.
Right.
There's a lot of criticism because the people who make out on that litigation are the lawyers that bring it on behalf. Because they're the only ones that get paid. Doesn't make a difference. The municipality says, okay, I can't charge my fee, but I have to pay for it, right? So kind of a circular argument, zero-sum game at the end of the day. But that's their fallback argument. They also, just so you guys are aware, you probably saw it, they also argue that, frankly, replacing these leads is not going to move the dial in favor of safety. They argue that, you know, we saw it here even with arsenic. When I started representing the village way back when, it was like for arsenic it was 24 parts per billion, and then the state came in and I think Ross helped me. I think they knocked it down to like 12 maybe, or it was significant. So guess what happened? You guys are, you guys remember we had arsenic. It's a natural occurring thing. No one poisoned our water system. But arsenic went from 24 parts per billion to 12. Guess what? Who needed an arsenic treatment plant?
Yeah.
We did.
Not anybody a half mile outside of town.
Right. So that was a real killer for us. Kind of the same thing on lead. Now lead's I don't want to lead's a various, for young kids, it's an extremely serious thing to deal with. It causes a lot of developmental issues. But you can see from what the Village of Clinton is saying, it's really, we're still very safe, and imposing this burden on us is ridiculous.
Well, how do we, are you talking about the service lines going to each house?
Yes.
Yep.
From the main.
Yep. So right now, Dave, in most communities, the standard is, I think, copper. There's a couple different types of copper, but they'll run a flexible copper. It's a special type of copper line that's flexible. Lyle, you can jump into, you kind of know this.
Well, what's the government want you to do?
Well, they want the lead service lines removed.
And they want them replaced, but they want the municipalities to pay for it.
The municipality picks up the cost for
Of those
anything
43
that's part of
lines.
the village distribution system at the curb, and then the line into the private
How do we
residence.
know they're safe, though? How do we know they're safe between the service
Well, we
lines?
don't. I mean, there was a reference in here that, and if somebody else saw that, the DEQ and director said, we're really ramping up. We're going to start testing more. So I think they are going to increase testing requirements for lead in the water. I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but there was a reference that they were.
Well, they test for lead in the water now, don't they?
Well, that does, yeah, but not necessarily when you open your tap. See, that's the difference, right?
Right.
So again, and I just want to say one other thing. It's not just general laws. in almost every community that I have ever dealt with or known, everybody has the same arrangement. The main is municipalities, the
Right.
service line, you're on it,
Right.
it's you.
That's yours.
It's
Yeah.
you, the property owner.
Right.
Now the DEQ has come in and said, no, that, we don't like that. We're going to impose that duty of replacement on the.
And they're working overtime just to kill,
Right.
to
So-
kill people.
So,
To kill countries.
So let me just, I don't wanna say too much, because I don't wanna, like, say, the one thing that, I think Kevin had come here and, he talked to some arguments about, some cases using the Headley Amendment. In other words, a state mandates something, but they don't give you the money to carry out the mandate. That's a
Yep.
constitutional violation.
Yep.
Municipalities have challenged this a couple of times. Kevin mentioned, way back when, it was in I think the 1980s, the Fitzgerald School District down in southern Macomb County challenged that, and they won that case. Durant, it was Durant versus somebody. They won that case, but it's never really gotten the type of traction that it really has happened. They was sued a little bit while ago by a group effort by municipalities. It's really hard, to be honest with you, to fight government. Government, even as a little government, it's hard to fight the big government. Number one, I think we need more. We need a good portion of these 200 to join. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard. And you got to keep in mind that there's nothing at the end of the day that prevents the state from changing our charter. It is a state statute, and they could amend it. Even we win, but they could change that. I'm not saying they will, but I feel I owe it to you to know that they could do it. Now, changing a statute, it's difficult. I mean, it's a political decision then, and maybe some of our representatives would stand up to us and say, no, there's a better way to do this. I just don't know, but I feel I have to tell you, this could go all the way to the Supreme Court, and 2 weeks later they could, amend that statute, and we're back to square one. I think you need to know that. I'm not saying that will happen,
But for $2,000,
Yeah.
it's, I mean, my opinion, I think it's worth the fight. But if you have 42 times, say 5,000 just for that, that's what, $215,000?
250, I think.
That would fall on the municipality, and it falls on all residents, where we have 680, whatever, water-paying customers,
Right.
43 lines. I'm gonna have to replace mine. I know that mine isn't, plastic or copper. So it's like, I'm gonna have to replace mine, but I've always known, living in my home, that was my responsibility to the street.
Right.
I think a lot of people may not understand that, and when these mandates come down, they're gonna come from the state, they're not gonna come from the village.
Right.
And you either, you say $5,000 to $6,000, it's like, are you going to be hiring out a company to do this, or are you gonna put that on your DPW? Like Clinton, when I talked to the gentleman in Clinton, he says they got 2,300 residents, 2,200 residents, something like that, with 2 guys in their DPW. He says, we can't do it. And his cost was $5,000 to $6,000. They actually had somebody come in and give them a cost, depending on what side of the road you connect at.
Right.
So for $2,000, I almost think it's worth but then again, they may not get anybody, and this isn't, hey, we're committing this, here's $2,000, go. It's gonna, they gotta wait to see how many people they get interested.
I would be in favor of providing some money to Clinton Township if we, and I think, Marvin, you had said there's 20 other municipalities that have
That's
signed
what we
on,
heard.
which is, and I know they're reaching out again to everybody, I know that that's not the 200 that Jeff has described, general law villages. So I would feel a lot more comfortable if there were 100 people challenging.
And maybe there is.
And it may get to that point. And if there is a shot at it, I think what it does is it simply says, you're gonna violate some statute or some administrative rule. It's just, and maybe what you get out of that is you just get some clear guidance on, you're gonna do this one, and then these, you're gonna violate them, but you're probably not gonna get hit on the head for it, right? It just appears reading through all of the paperwork that you're gonna be in violation of something, it's just what are you gonna be in violation of?
Yeah, they were very
And it's gonna
thorough.
take a court case to make that decision.
The other thing, just, and again, the other way to approach this, in case it falls apart is, you know, at some point, they're gonna have to come through and check up and say, are you doing under our rules? And at that point, you can say, no, we're following our state law charter
Right.
that says we can't do this.
Right.
Now, I don't wanna say at that point, the one difficulty with that is that you're battling them one-on-one, and that's a lot harder.
Yeah, it'd be
But,
better if you had a backup
And
of
better
people.
to have the.
Which I would think
collective
you're gonna lose at that point.
Well, you know, be very candid, I mean, you know, they're gonna come, as they have done with the treatment plan, at some point, they're gonna come at you and they're gonna say you can either, Steve, as you know, they basically tell you, either you comply or we will sue you under, you know, to force you to do what we are.
This may buy us some time, though. I mean, if it's, even if it is, if it ends up going to court, it may buy us up to 20 years, you know.
Right, well, we are,
To raise that money.
Ed and I are looking at different options, and yes, one option is for the DPW to do it, but clearly they're undermanned to do this kind of stuff and then maintain all the other things in the village that the DPW responsibilities are. But, so we look at, you know, potentially hiring a company to come in and either support or do the balance of the work. You make it a multi-year contract, you do so many per year, and you guarantee the company it's you for 5 years to do 10 a year or something like, I mean, that's where you get creative, right? And you try to keep the costs as low as possible and guarantee the work's gonna get done on time. So, the one thing I gotta do is go back and just double check the time. I was pretty sure it was 2025. I gotta look at my book in here because I got a letter from Eagle that kind of stipulates that. And so, to do 10 a year, we're kind of getting close to having to do something. And it was in that laundry list of different projects that Waterworks has that we just got to figure out how do we fund. Now, again, just so you understand, if we did a multi-year contract, we could set it up so that you don't pay them $250,000 period. This year, you pay them a subset of that, and you give them progress payments or whatever. They did 10, you pay them 10's worth, so the dollar amount is low, but you guarantee them the $250. The concern I have, again, we talked about it, is now you're going on somebody's private property and you're drilling in their yard and you're replacing stuff, and how do we protect ourselves against messing up a foundation or cracking a driveway or whatever? Those bills could add up to significantly more than the $250,000.
Yeah, what if they tell you, get off my property?
Right.
What if they tell you?
Yeah, it's their private
Then you
property.
got, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Are you gonna condemn the
Am I gonna
property
get
to
the
get the line out?
chief and come down there and force somebody to do it on their yard because they don't want to do it?
It's a
You know,
mess.
all I could do is say, well, it's free to you, right? I mean, hopefully that would sway them, but,
One
That's
thing,
right.
Russ, is that if you hire a contractor on it, the contractor carries all that liability.
the liability, sure.
So
yes.
we're out of it.
In theory, we're out of it. We're never quite out of it, but yes, we would
Legally, we would be.
we would have them carry the liability. And I'm sure the work could be done, you know, expeditiously and not cause problems, but you never know what somebody's
So
gonna
if they're
think.
gonna test water and they wanna change ones that don't have water that's tested good?
No, they sent
They
out,
sent out
they
a
sent
letter.
out letter or little cards for you to fill out of what your line is.
Yeah.
They did that last year, I think.
I don't remember
The
filling out one of those.
DPW has been out and they've assessed, and so our best
I got a
guess.
copper line then.
Then maybe,
Our best
maybe you're
guess-
already in there
But
as
you
a
said
copper
you
line.
replaced yours.
I
Yeah,
replaced mine, I don't know,
Yes.
6-7 years
so
ago.
maybe, yeah, so maybe,
They wouldn't
yeah.
be putting lead in there.
Right.
Yeah, we had about 44 of them, and over the last couple of years since DPW, Eagle, or DPW, since DEQ and / Eagle have asked us to report on what lines we have, we've fixed to in the process of leaks or whatever else we've fixed to. But we got about 41, 42 remaining that we've identified that we have to fix over the next 5 years. It's in the water asset management plan, we've listed it in there as something we had to do, not being aware whether or not we were gonna be able to challenge it, right? We don't like it, but right now it says you gotta do it, so we have to plan for it.
Right.
And that's kind of where we are. I would like to support an initiative if there's a opportunity to have a valid legal challenge. I just don't know, I don't know where we
Well,
are.
right now they're asking for 2,000, right?
Yeah,
Up to
2,000.
And I think the amount of 2,000 is what the motion should be.
Yeah.
And not to
Well,
exceed.
if I could recommend, Mr. President, I mean, it might be that we say, we're gonna give you 1,000, and if you can get up to 80 other municipalities that'll buy into the lawsuit, then you get another $1,000, right? I mean, let's reinforce success, and in the meantime, we can kind of safeguard ourselves. We do 1,000 now, and if they get to whatever limit council thinks is good, and number of litigants, right, then we can give them another
Well,
1,000.
you know, when we have.
Or just leave it to the not to exceed as it is.
Yeah, and then you,
Not to
are you
exceed.
comfortable
Not
with
to
the next
exceed
safety?
You can do either way, it doesn't
Well,
matter.
when you
Mr.
deal
President?
with, Ross, when you deal with so many communities, you know, they're not all going to do it this month, next month. I mean, it's prolonged so long.
Right.
That's our problem.
Yeah.
And I can see that would be a real benefit. I would vote for that too, you know, myself here. But I think in general, if we go not to exceed,
You can start with 1,000.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm good with
Yeah.
that. I'm good
And
with
I
that.
don't know when they're at, I don't think they want a
They haven't
check
really-
tomorrow.
yeah, they
You know, I
haven't.
think they just want a commitment, because they want to know
Right.
how many are gonna commit,
Yeah, you're
so
gonna
we
pledge to
can
do this.
move
It's
forward.
no different than our G2 media, you know, the company wants a
Right.
commitment that we're
Right, yep,
gonna
same
help
thing.
them, right?
Well,
And I
that's
think
why-
that that's good.
That's why I say if we go with the commitment up to that,
Yep,
but if we want to, if you want to not start with 1,000, that's fine, and not to exceed 10,000.
No, I'd be confident in
And
you
if
being
they get
able to
more,
make that decision, it's just you
Depends
might
on our
say.
wording of our resolution
Yeah.
for our motion.
right, no,
Yeah.
I think it's,
No,
I
I'm
think it's
good,
good.
I'm good with
Mr.
that.
President, I will resolve to financially support a legal challenge to the state of Michigan's lead and copper rules as applicable
Applicable.
to the general law villages in the amount not to exceed $2,000.
Support.
By Shaw,
Yep.
And do a roll, we need a roll.
Yeah.
yes, this is roll call on it.
Ballard,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Delkey,
Yes,
Sledge,
Yes.
Conan,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Bullock.
Yes, motion carried.
Okay, I will get them a letter telling them what the motion was.
Next is the gutter quote for our village offices here, new eave draws. You can have that in your packet there. I think we're talking about, was it $1,136, I think I heard. That right?
$995.
$995, okay. What was that, then I had a question of why was the 810 and the other $65 figure?
It was,
Another option.
yeah, I think,
But it looks like it's the same option.
No, one
because
was-
where the peak is at the front door,
yeah,
it made a different configuration on the seamless gutters.
Oh, okay.
they need to be done by,
This stuff on Clinton, all these, you want that, man?
no, I have copies. Thank you.
Yeah, 'cause like I said, I was reading, it says 6-inch gutters and then 2x3 downspouts in the pair northeast corner. 8, 10, and 60, I thought, well, it looks like it's showing the same, you know.
Yeah, it had to do with, like Joe said, with the peak. Unfortunately, I wasn't here the day that the quote came in. Joe was, though.
They didn't list that then, right?
What was that?
They didn't list that peak? I don't see it here.
It's a little, I mean, ultimately, you'd say it's shown in option one, if you look at the little picture.
Yeah.
He's drawn two peaks, but it's very faint.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you
And in
know,
option two, it doesn't show them.
right.
I see the peak.
Does this have the, You know, so you don't get leaves in the gutter.
Gutter guard?
Oh, good.
Yeah, the gutter
I don't
guard.
know about that. I don't know, the
I
DPW takes care of that.
I don't know if you would get that many though,
Yeah.
Dave, because I don't, that's usually where you've got trees like around your.
You've
No,
got a lot of trees coming
no,
in.
Yeah,
but it's, I don't know.
From
I don't
these
know,
trees over here, they blow quite rapidly.
But that's, I mean, the DPW takes care of that every year. I'm not too concerned about
Now,
that.
I just got a price on my own, they want almost $5,000 for my house. 379 or 89 feet.
Better than you going up the ladder.
Well,
Yes,
my
agreed.
wife don't even let me during the tractor now. So, yeah. but
So anyway, so that's-
that would be really expensive to put that on, I think.
Yeah.
This is in the budget, this is something that we needed to do, so.
What's the council wish?
Mr. President, I resolve to accept a quote from Pearl Trim and Gutters LLC in the not-to-exceed amount of $995 and no change, 00, for the repair and replacement of village office building gutters and downspouts.
Support.
Moved and supported. Not being discussed. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Wait, no, this is special.
That's a roll call.
Roll call.
Yeah, we need a roll call on this.
Belkey,
Yes.
Ballard,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Cronin,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Sleds?
Yes.
Sleds.
I have a little question.
I get the votes
Do
once.
we had heat tape on these gutters now, right? Don't we? Or,
I
They're on,
think
it's
it's
on the
worn off.
roof, but I don't know
Yeah.
if it even works.
I don't think it even works.
okay. I know we've had
Because we've
some,
had those big ice.
I know we've had some really big
Yeah.
ice dams.
Oh,
I
And
think,
these are larger gutters.
Okay.
They quoted for.
yeah, that was.
And when we had the tape up there, did our guys do it? Did the DPW do it?
I
No,
think-
actually, the guy for the phone system did it.
Oh,
I think our guys can
Okay.
do it though.
all right.
They can, but he corrected some stuff that was up there that was sorting out.
Well, just something to keep in mind that we may end up having to do that also if we have ice problems.
This is kind of an after-the-fact question, but if they find any bad fascia up there and all that, they're not replacing any of that, are they? Or they've
There was a
already
price in
inspected?
there for so many cost per foot if they have to fix it.
Did you, okay, I was having a hard time reading that.
Item 3, replace fascia board if needed at $8 per foot.
Okay, so that's an
It's
added,
covered if, I guess, if they find it, so.
that would be an added cost then,
Yeah.
over the $9.95.
It could be.
I
But
would say so.
we're, just so you know, we're well below, I mean, Michelle,
I was gonna say-
assuming Michelle, this is in your, or, I don't know whose budget this is in, but
Yeah.
we could,
General.
we're well below the purchasing limit.
Yeah.
Right, so
So
if,
if there's a problem, we can.
you can just arbitrarily make
Yeah.
it, okay, great, that's all, I just didn't want it to get
Yeah.
hung up, because now there's bad
We
fascia.
don't want it to, you gotta get it.
Yeah, you gotta fix it all. Fixing it.
I watch it leaking all over the place out there when it rains, trust me.
Okay.
Okay.
Next is for the bathroom changes in the village offices.
Both toilets to be replaced in the bathrooms.
Is that the only quote we got?
I think so.
I kind of question, I've replaced a lot of toilets down at the apartments and stuff. I tell you, that's a lot of money.
That's what I'm thinking, that's.
I mean, even if I ballpark the toilet at $300 apiece, $600 for the toilets, they're making a pretty good hourly rate. It shouldn't take a guy but an hour and a half to take the old one out, the new one in, unless he's got a problem with the flanges, but that's all doable too. I would like to see us maybe get another price or two. I mean, is there literally a problem with the toilet right now, or
They both leak.
They both-
One is
What?
rocking.
has anybody
One
tightened
rocks.
bolts?
Ed's looked at it,
Okay.
Well, they were installed by it.
yeah.
Oh, I don't
Guys
think
looked
2
at
weeks
it.
is gonna matter, so maybe we could bid, I agree with
That's a good
That's
idea.
a lot of money.
you.
Yeah, I've replaced our toilets. I realize these are probably better, but still.
Now, these are village toilets.
If we could get a couple more prices and make it
That's
decision
all.
at the next
Not
meeting.
They're both plated, right, Mark?
Yeah.
I know I replaced mine.
Four line seats.
So you wanna table this till the next meeting?
Yes.
Well, what we really need to do is get a few more quotes up there.
We'll bring us back to
There's
next
local plumbers that'll, I'm sure,
If you
Lloyd.
if you get me names, just give them to me and bring them in.
okay,
Okay.
that can maybe
We'll
one.
bring us back
Oh,
to
you
next
can,
meeting. Sean.
Lloyd Walker.
Lloyd.
Yeah, okay,
He's not the cheapest guy, but you never know.
okay.
Okay, next is the appointment of,
Yep.
secondary primary building inspector. What is your wishes of the council, please?
Well,
Mr. President, I resolve to confirm the president's appointment of Dennis Lemieux as secondary primary building inspector.
Second.
Moved and supported. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The special event application was referred to the police department, and you have a couple motions there. One is to deny, one is to permit. So what is the council wishes for this? This is due to the
Governor's order.
actual code of the state's governor's rulings and orders, which would be the executive order 176 that our department is referring to. So, understanding that, gentlemen, what is your wish?
Mr. President, I'd like to propose a motion to deny the special event permit application from the Armada Lions Club for a four-corner fundraiser due to current restrictions from Governor Whitmer under Executive Order 176.
Support. Ray Clark. Any further discussion?
Just curious, is the Lions put out some alternate dates perhaps? I know they got a specific date that they like to do their fundraisers, but you know, it seems like the protective orders change monthly based upon the conditions. I mean, I would hate to deny it, but I don't want to be in violation of the executive order because that has its own potential ramifications. So
They have
It's
not,
not a law. It's
yeah.
not a law.
They just gave us the weekend of the 25th, 26th, and 27th. That's
You
it.
know, if the people have their masks on and they put their jug out for someone to drop, I don't see that as a problem.
no, I understand. I don't know how the chief has looked at this. I assume he's taken a look at what the executive order says with respect to this type of
You
activity.
go to the restaurant and they hand you the food, you hand them your credit card.
Yeah.
You go to the cozy, same thing, you know? I don't see that where this is different, you're doing it one car at a time, so,
That's why it's being brought to you.
right.
Right.
So,
I got it, but
all due respect to the chief, I love him, but myself, I think we should allow him to do it.
I tend to agree with what Dave's saying. I talked to Chief about the Armada jams, and he kind of thought we shouldn't have them, but then the mandate changed, fortunately before that, that there could be up to 100 people.
Right.
So I went ahead and had the concerts in the park. And
Right.
with 6-foot social distancing, we did at least have some.
Yeah, well, and you held it in accordance with the guidelines,
Right.
right? And so if the chief is advising us of what the guidelines are, and I know what you're saying, and I don't pretend to understand why certain places can do it and other places can't do it. On the other hand, you know, I work for the federal government, I'm not back at work, and they're not letting anybody come back to work. So, I don't wanna say that it's not out there, right? COVID is out there, despite what people
It's
may.
not that we
think.
don't want to, we want to.
It's not that we don't wanna do it.
The
it's-
organizations,
Right.
because we support our organizations
Right.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would too, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is it possible to get back with them and say, can you pick an alternate date? We wanna work with you, we don't wanna shut you down.
Why, alternate date doesn't mean that Whitmer's gonna change.
I understand.
I mean, we're doing stuff different than any other state. So let's have our vote.
Because there's no federal guidelines out there on what anybody should do.
At least that's giving them a chance to say that we're not just shutting them down.
I would like to give them alternative,
Right.
you know, and if things change, then I certainly would want them to be able to
But we
do
don't
that.
have that alternative date.
Well, not today.
If you wanna say middle of October, you'll approve it, you can't.
What I'm
If you
saying
wanna
is,
say
if
December,
the,
you'll approve it, you can't.
what I'm
Well,
saying
but this
is
way
if
he's
the
buying some more time. that
Right.
they
conditions
could
change,
Right, they could change.
please come back and ask us again. I think council is supportive. It's just,
Instead of just saying no.
Exactly.
right.
Yeah.
I don't wanna just say no and that's the end of it. I wanna say, let's look at it in another 2 weeks and see what happens. The governor is changing her mandates
Right.
as
They opened the
conditions.
gyms, they just opened the gyms,
If
25%.
we could get a new governor in two weeks, I'd like it.
Well, all kinds of things may change on November 3rd, but, you know, all we can do is go with what's there now,
We
right?
got a motion on the floor.
There is a motion, I mean, you guys can
Yeah,
resend or you
Councilman
can.
Conan wanted to call for the vote, so I'll call for the vote, please.
Roll call, you want, or just, Call for the
No, just, let's call a roll.
Sleds,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes,
Conan,
No,
Bullock,
No.
Ballard,
No.
Belkey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Please
I
ask
mean,
them to come
if,
back.
I can ask them if there's another date that they wanna try to come back in a couple of weeks with, they can do that. I mean, you know,
Or we
it's,
can, I mean, the chief, if the chief would be willing, I mean, we get the executive order, if the chief, tell him we'll reach out to you.
Yeah, I'd like to
Exactly.
know exactly what he's citing, because
I'm
I
not buying it.
read
but-
those too. and I-
or if the chief says, you know, if the chief and I say it's okay, I mean, the rule is that we bring these back to you. Would you be comfortable with letting us just make that decision if they come back with a date and say, can we do it here, and we don't have a meeting prior to that? Are you okay with the chief and I making that
Sure.
decision?
no, yeah, that'd be fine.
It would be under the normal fund, okay, you just say, this one came early for one
I
of
think
those,
they'd
it would
be
never come to
happier
us
if
under
you
normal
contacted
circumstances.
Governor Whitmer and asked her if you could do that.
You don't, no. You know, it's, I mean, I'm just, if we say, hey, you know, we can't do it for this week, but say the governor lifts everything on September 21st, and they want to do it that weekend, we don't have a meeting between that.
Yep.
Are you, I mean, can I ask that, or do I have to have a vote on that, Jeff? I mean,
I think-
So,
Did they have to come to council in the first place?
They do.
For a
They-
regular?
they always come to
Always
council.
have?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember, sorry.
Yeah. I usually do them under consent,
That's right.
and, because it's usually not an issue.
Mhm.
You know, what we did when you guys approved the homecoming parade,
Right.
it was approved contingent upon, the governor's, you know, because it changes daily, you know, not always daily, but I mean, it changes quite often. So, I mean, maybe could we make the motion like that, saying to approve it? I don't know. I mean, I don't think that the homecoming parade is happening. I don't even know if football's going on.
Are other communities doing any fundraising?
I have
you know?
not seen any
I
Four
haven't
Corners
seen
out.
any Four
Nothing.
I have
haven't
not.
seen it either.
You know, it's unfortunate because the Lions Club is down a lot of money. I mean, they, you know, I mean, I won't give the amount the guy told me, but I mean, they're hurting. You know, so please, I mean, as a community, donate to the Lions Club. You know, I mean, if you can't give them your money on a Four Corner, just donate to their organization.
Right.
You know, I mean, I don't have an answer for them on how to be creative to collect money. I don't. I wish I did, but.
I have to think there's ramifications of municipalities that constantly stick it in the eyeball of the state, right? So I don't want to get in the habit of doing that. I want to give these guys a chance though. So I will personally donate some money to the Lions Club. I would like to, say, please come back with another date
Yeah.
Right.
and let's work it. I would also like to know if the chief could cite what part of the latest executive order
Mhm.
he's looking at,
Yeah,
because I look at that stuff and it's confusing.
yeah.
and
Well, and I know he does a lot of teleconferencing on it. I know they have, the chiefs all
The
talk
chiefs
about it. I
conferences,
know,
yeah.
there's a lot of conversation that he has that I'm unaware of. I don't know
Yeah.
exactly.
It would just be helpful. It's, I want to
Well-
be supportive of these guys.
Well, and like I said, I mean, when I call them to tell them it was denied, I will tell them, hey, if you've got an alternative date, let's try it again.
They can put it on the docket for every 2 weeks. I'm happy with that, and we will find them a date.
Okay,
We will find it may not be this date,
right, okay,
and I'll still give them money.
yeah, okay,
I'm happy to do it.
all right.
And I'd like to just say one thing though. That's a responsibility that we've put onto the chief to approve these. And he's always been very fair, very conscientious.
We've never denied one,
He-
never.
He wouldn't, just to be spiteful, he wouldn't do it.
No,
Yeah.
So
No.
I think if
And
there's
it's a
any
hard
way that he
decision.
felt that it could be done safely, he would have recommended that we approve it.
yeah,
So,
we're within the guidelines, and that's the other thing too. I mean, I support Chief Patrick in any decision that he makes
Exactly.
regarding these things. It's just, it's hard because as a community, you want to support everybody, but, as
Well,
a
this is-
council, you have a responsibility to everybody, in the.
With-
to protect the safety of the
I'll
community.
say this, for 30 years, I've supported the chief, whoever our chief was,
Yep, you have,
whatever they requested.
absolutely.
And I think the world of Chief Patrick, it just, this,
Well, you
I
raise
just don't
valid
agree
points
with
with the
this,
restaurant,
you
you
know.
do, you raise very valid points.
This
with
is
that.
no question about the chief. I know the chief's
Yeah,
doing what he feels is right in his mind.
right. Well, and you can't put it all on him, that's why it comes to you, It's
You know,
like
it
goes to
came,
the
it
chief.
came here.
Yep, it did, and that's why it came here,
You know what old Harry said, the buck stops.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So I will, we'll have a conversation with them and, hopefully,
It's not a decision made in malice. I mean, it was.
absolutely not.
Well, it's all from the state level because she has controlled so damn much. It has been terrible. A lot of
And,
people, are saying this.
and
And
Ross,
they're also saying they would not vote for her because of all the action she has taken with this pandemic.
Yeah.
there's been no other community that's rolled over more than this community has for whatever the government's requesting of us. Especially the people you work with at Eagle and the
Yeah.
DNR. We've done everything they requested. So because we question once in a while, doesn't make us uncooperative.
No, and I don't want to suggest that, and I would tell you the fact that we work, at least I can only speak for water, but we work with Eagle on stuff, and they have given us a lot of latitude where they didn't have to. So it's a cooperative relationship, right? And they have supported me on certain things when I've needed extra time or I've asked for reconsideration.
Look how much latitude they give to the people who are polluting our rivers. They give them plenty of latitude.
Yeah.
You're not doing that.
I can't, I got no dog in that fight. There's nothing I can say. It's just, we're a public water supply, and so we have certain requirements to the population. People who live out in the township, they're on their own property, and it's up to them. That's why they can do whatever they want to do. If they're smart, they'll put an arsenic filter in,
Really.
right? I mean, that's all I can say, but we're a public water provider, and we have to do certain things.
We have to answer to
The Army taught me a long time ago, I don't have to like it, I just gotta understand it, and I can understand why Eagle does some of the things.
But actually, we're talking about the four quarters.
Fundraising, yeah. I wanna
Against
give,
the water.
yeah, I wanna give Lions another chance, so hopefully there's some other dates that will work for them, because I don't wanna cut them off, but I gotta honor what the chief's saying, but I would like to see what the,
I think
Yeah.
right now,
They say.
I think Michelle
I
has
agree.
enough
Yep.
to handle it.
Yep.
Ross, you make a good
We'll put it
politician.
into place.
I don't wanna be
However,
politician.
Michelle, did we say that it does have
Okay.
to come back no matter what days they pick, still has to come back here? right?
Yes, yeah, we'll still go through the process.
So right now,
Okay.
something after October 1st then.
We're gonna go to the old business, which is a sewer plant and water department updates. Is there anything that you have, Mr. Clark?
Yes, I do. I been gone all last week, and today I stopped in at the plant there, talked to Matt. There's no construction taking place, but they do have all the cement poured for the new pipe gallery. I spoke to Doug Rowe today. We're gonna have the first of a few change orders, and one of them I'm gonna mention tonight. I can approve it, but I just wanna mention it. They've been dewatering for their excavation out there. They're still pumping water out of there. And they've realized they're gonna have to put in some footing drains, and they wanna know sooner than later. I'm gonna get with them tomorrow and approve it. It's gonna cost anywhere from $2,600 to $3,000. So that's within my parameters. I just want to bring it up to you, and I will give approval for that. And soon, hopefully sooner than later, they're going to be doing the generator. And when they do that, we're going to be operating our own generator for maybe up to a day or more. So with that being said, Matt doesn't want to trust that generator that it's going to be doing what it's supposed to be doing in the middle of the night. So he's going to be scheduling, there's going to be some added costs. We have somebody stop in, just do a check on things. So I'll just let you know there'll be some additional costs on F&B's side, which they will charge us for. And it's something that's got to be done. So that'll be coming up, and these other change orders, Doug's gonna get with me on it, that they're not too horrendous, what he kind of ballparked me, but still, this is just kind of the beginning. We all know what's coming. The minute you put a shovel in the ground, things happen, so. And, yep, that's all I got for right now.
Very good, thank you. You're through with the water then, right, Ross?
I think we're done. If anybody's got any questions about the report, just get back
I
to
think
me.
it was a good report, so we won't take it more.
All 15 pages.
You like my joke,
Because
right?
yeah, dude, safety challenge on the traffic.
Okay, that's a becoming an agenda item for this council.
We've got the auditors next meeting.
Next meeting.
Well, I'll bring back hopefully some toilet quotes. There you go.
Michelle, Joe, that won't start earlier, will it? Or
No, it's still
7 o'clock until
We just got to figure out
2 in the
where we're
morning?
gonna put them.
Okay.
They'll be able to put it in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
actually now too, like I stated first, there's no citizens in the audience, so there's no request from citizens at this time. Now, it's council comments. Council have any additional comments they want to make? I hear none. Community events, any others? I don't believe there's anything coming up. There's no homecoming, is there, Michelle?
I don't know. I don't have kids in high school anymore. I don't know anything.
They are back playing high school
They are,
football,
yeah.
but I don't know how that affects when they.
I don't know how homecoming's gonna be,
Yeah.
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 Don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe that won't be till October, so we'll always see.
I don't
Comes
know.
at the next meeting, that's fine, okay? There's no closed sessions tonight also, and I'm going to entertain a motion now for adjournment, please.
The time is 8:07. Mr. President, I move to adjourn.
Support by Mr. Belkey. All right, any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Is this a preliminary?